Hey guys, Peter here with Pete's How To's and Reviews. The last video that I posted was about a uni pizza oven that I have. It's a wood burning oven that I converted to a gas. I could use it still as wood if I want to. It's just a small modification that I did and it worked beautifully. Today you're going to be seeing the process on how to make the dough. I'm going to show you a recipe that I have here. It did get inspired by some other content that I've been watching on YouTube. I just tweaked it a little bit to work for the way I think works best for me. Stay tuned. Hopefully you guys like what you see. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment if you guys have any questions or you're enjoying the content I'm providing. Thanks again. Don't forget to watch to the end. Alright guys, first things first, we're going to go ahead and measure out 5 grams of yeast. Only reason why you're seeing me transfer one dish to another dish is because when I originally weighed it out, it did not calculate the weight. So make sure your scale is set to grams, okay? Then we're gonna go ahead and do salt. Salt is gonna be 20 grams. Same situation here. Actually, on this one, I over poured the salt. So that's why it's being transferred from one dish to another. We need 20 grams. Then we're gonna go ahead with the honey. The honey is used for the yeast to eat. And we're gonna go ahead and do 20 grams of honey. If it's a little over, it's fine. And we're gonna add 26 grams of olive oil. If it's a little over, no big deal, but try to stay close to what the recipe calls for. There you go, 26 grams. Now we're gonna use it's tipo 00. Basically it's a 00 flour. These normally come in a 2.2 pound bag. This brand is Anna brand, but I like Caputo better. I think Caputo has a better flour, and I believe the pizza comes out much better with a Caputo. I decided to try this one, and it was good, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. And even if you use Caputo, same recipe. The next thing to do is grab the bowl or a bowl and make sure you hit the tare button. You can see it's already at 0, and add water. It should be 650 grams of water. The water I like to do kind of warm water, don't do super hot. So that's at 650. Next, you go ahead and put your yeast in there and your olive oil. Now, if you notice here is olive oil, I normally do honey. I made a mistake. My kid was talking to me and I got distracted, but this didn't affect anything. But normally I would go ahead and do the honey and the yeast first. The olive oil is normally after the fact, okay? But I did not notice any difference in the way the dough came out by me adding the honey now. So the second cup you see there is actually the honey I'm scraping out, and you just mix everything together. Then you add the flour, and don't put the whole thing. Put about half of the flour in there, or a little less than half, and you want to get it kind of almost like a pasty consistency. Just kind of check out what I'm doing, and it's gonna be like a really watery dough, and you just want to mix it up. It's gonna become almost like a paste. And what we do at this point is once it's thoroughly mixed, we let it sit for about 30 minutes. You'll see that I'm gonna keep working the liquids into the dough until everything is well blended. So scrape whatever's along the bowl, just keep mixing it all together to get you that desired consistency. And then you go ahead, get a spatula and just blend everything, scrape it off the side of the bowl and kind of put it all together. Cover it up with some plastic wrap and you just let that sit. Once you seal everything up, you let it sit for approximately 30 minutes. A matter of fact, if you did 20 minutes, no big deal. 15 minutes. I normally do 15 to 30 minutes, depends on how quick I want to get this dough made and cooked. Once you had it sit for about that 20-30 minutes, then you add the rest of the flour and you're gonna go ahead and mix it all together. You're gonna add the salt as well, and at this point is normally when you would add the olive oil, but once again I made a mistake. I wasn't paying attention and I went ahead and added the olive oil in the very beginning, and you'll see it didn't affect anything with the dough at all. So you mix it all together, get it nicely blended, and when you get to this point where the dough is not really mixing, you want to stop the mixer if you do have a mixer, and then you want to take it off the dough hook and then reposition the dough and then continue. What you're gonna notice is when you're taking the flour out, it looks pretty good, but in the bowl it's gonna be very wet, so you might want to add a little bit more flour as you're mixing it, whether it's by hand or whether you're mixing it with a mixer. If you see it's really sticky and you can't even form anything from it, add a little bit of flour, little by little. Don't go crazy adding flour, because then you'll overdo the flour and then you'll have more of a dry dough. So you still want it kind of like a wet dough, but as you can see, this consistency is not bad. It's a little more stiff. I could have had a little more wet. Neapolitan dough is normally a little more wet and a little more sticky, but this consistency was fine. The way the dough rose was pretty nice. So right now I'm just forming the ball, and once I form the ball, you see it's not perfectly smooth. So this is the first proof that I'm going to be doing. After you proof for about 20 minutes, then you want to go ahead and re-knead the dough and then proof it again for another 20 minutes. This is the final proof, so this was proofed twice. And at this point, I'm going to cut the dough balls. You see the dough looks a little more smooth. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the dough balls. And when I say cut the dough balls, I'm basically cutting it off the larger ball. I'm adding it to the scale. And each dough ball should weigh 250 pounds for approximately a 12-inch pizza. Once you get to that weight, you're going to form the dough ball. And once you form all the dough balls, the dough is going to be resting another 20-30 minutes. Like I said, I normally do about 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Depends on how soon I want to eat. If I'm planning on eating that dough that day, and I made this in the afternoon, I normally give it a total probably of 3 hours from start to finish, and it gets pretty decent. If you let it sit overnight or longer, then you're gonna have a lot more tastier crust and a more airy crust. But if you're doing the same day, it's possible to do it. You start at 12 o'clock. By the time it's done and you're ready to eat, you'll be fine. But that's basically how you form a dough ball. I'm not a master at it, but you can see, you get the concept. You're just forming the ball, making it nice and smooth, and then you're gonna pinch the back and try to get it closed up. What I like to do is put it on the counter, make sure the counter is dry, and I drag it, and it helps tighten the ball up. Don't put oil or anything, because that ball is just going to slide, or don't even put flour in that section, because it's just going to slide. You won't be able to get that friction you need. That's how the dough ball looks inside the container. And then the next video it should be up next week. You're going to see how much these balls have risen, and I'm going to show you how I toss the pizza, and I'll also show you how to make the sauce that goes pretty well with these type of pizzas. This dough is a Neapolitan style dough. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next video, and I'll show you the process of making the pizza. Thank you very much. Bye bye.